All right. Good morning, good day. I hope you guys are doing well. This is the African Crypto Warlord. I've got a few things to announce. First off, the thumbnail you clicked on is behind my face right now, so that will come in hopefully less than 30 seconds. But long story short, this analysis is for me personally because I am starting a Bitcoin scalping challenge again, 1% a day, whatever. I'm going to be doing it on Max every Thursday. I get pretty much unlimited trades. And then I might get 100 trades per day on kicks. Anyway, I'm getting bored sitting here. I'm happy with my targets. So that's sort of what I'm going to be announcing for today. And that's sort of why I'm doing this analysis so that I can keep on rewatching it as time changes. Because I was thinking these 88 regions, I'm actually thinking a bit lower. But I just want to take a quick break and then start the challenge tomorrow off on Max. But anyway, let's get to business. And I think it was just by that little doji there. Yes. Okay. No, I think it's a little higher. Okay. So long story short, this is the 3-day cone. And what would I say? Just for the 3-day, I'm going to break it down into analysis. Each time frame I'm going to show you good workflow, how you look for a workflow, whatever it is. I'm going to do good trader management, like show you how I use my system. Anyway, so we'll start off on the 3-day. Any closes above 80 grand, which you'll see will be validated on another one later, pretty much means Bitcoin is range bound, and only this week's print has allowed it to be range bound, and its range is all the way up to $111,000. Okay. Woo. Anyway, you can see there's a whole bunch of pit stops here. Its skewed mean is 103. Just call it 103, 800 over there. All right, and then this is the other side over here. So long story short, on the 3-day, and you'll hear me now say this for each time frame specifically. So if you'd like to trade a certain time frame or look at certain time frames, you can see the pink levels. I'm going to be able to say this is currently in a bear market on that time frame on my observations, and this is in a range market, or this is actually still in a bull market. Okay, so in this case, the cone on the right on the 5-day, is holding, and its range is up to 111,000. It's technically on the left-hand side still in a bull market. If we can hold above 68,000 and just call it 68,000 flat. If we can hold above 68,000 flat, then it's technically still in a bull market. Okay, that's for the 5-day. Problem is if you were to look for range in your means, you have 100,000 for $104,000 to just call it $63,000 flat. Now those are the two means, but anyway, I'm more looking at, is this thing going to hold range? Is it still bullish? Whatever it is. Okay, so now I'm going to do best practices. Let's stop waffling, and I'm going to just drop down very quickly. So on the 90-day, I don't have volatility reading, but my returns are decaying to the downside, and that had been triggered a long time ago. On the 45-day, I'm technically in 50-50 mode, and as you can see, we do have a doji. Okay, wow. Thank you for validating that we have a doji because we're in 50-50 mode. Anyway, then I'm checking. It's actually very powerful. 21-day contraction in volatility was sort of positively correlated, still losing its correlation, but it's still saying for the next 6 days and 4 hours on the 21-day time frame, it's still more than likely going to be slow bleeding down. So just the 21 days telling me for the next 6 days and 4 hours, at least anything that's bought up on the lower term time frames will be sold into, aka look for lower highs. So bear divs, hidden bear divs as such. Okay, that's just the 21-day. The 14-day though is wanting to really kick this 21-day volatility up a bit here because it's been contracting for a while. It's pretty much below 10, just about to start to flash. Anyway, so the 14 days looking like it wants to increase in volatility, but it's currently stuck 50-50. So I would imagine a $500 move from here, plus or minus, can either trigger this into dump mode, even though momentum oscillators are trying to turn back around here, but I do like to wait for the follow through on any time frame. when my volatility kicks in to agree with them, especially on a higher term time frame. Okay, so then the 7 days actually expanding in volatility, and you can see it lost its dump here. Obviously, we've gone back up. I'm not going to get into the cones just yet. So volatility is turning around. It's more than likely going to start contracting, and I'll just say continuation up or continuation down comes from 83,000. We'll do it for the next. We'll do it for this print actually. $83,135 on Poloniex. Okay, that's just for this side here. Currently, don't want to get into that just yet. We're doing volatility here. Contracting or positively correlated means still down. Technically, if the signal holds and it's in a trend, even though it has been wicked up, the 5-day bears are still actually able to hold on. And ideally, they would like to settle it at $80,000. So you're going to hear this $80,000 number come up a lot. 3-day is in 50-50. It can quite easily get into expansion mode. Momentum oscillators are trying to push this thing up. Okay. Then we have here, what's that? That's actually sneaky pump mode on the 24-hour. Okay, so if you guys were watching my last stream, which I don't think anyone was because it was actually testing out the styling so that I can trade live. But anyway, I pretty much drew a line in the sand and I said, if it closes above 80 grand, you can expect Bitcoin to try and at least push into 90. We'll do it exactly to the thing. $93,500, or to this one, it'll just be shy of $90,000. $89,600. All right, that's if it holds above 80K. If it starts closing below 80K or whatever, any price action, I do, as I said, I do have some serious downside targets, but I will do that in another analysis to verify these numbers. 50, 55, 66. Okay, so you'll see now those numbers start to pop up anyway. Expansion and volatility in a trend. I would say if it can get above 83,500, you might be able to kick it back out of here on the 12-hour. Here is 50-50 contracting volatility. It's actually, yeah, it's 50-50. So not much to happen here on the 6-hour. Okay, I'm just going to roll through these things quick. Anyway, here for 3-hour continuation, anything above 82,800, you're technically looking for more upside. 82,700 would be where it wants to slow down. Here is the same thing. Just call it 82,800. It wants to push up as it's above the mean here on the 90-minute, as it's above the mean there. What you would be looking for is maybe a short setup, but I could see it trying to maybe do 83,900. But it is sort of looking like it wants to set up for a short setup in here because it hit the mean. If it was to go down, I'll do 80,800 and then see if I can capture this range between 80,800 to 84,000, just say $83,950. Okay, so that's the sort of range it's stuck in here. It's technically still bullish if it holds above 17. Oh, this is a bit tough because it's that 80K level. So if it holds above $79,850, it's technically still bullish. All right, at least on the 90-minute until that one prints. That's fine. Anything below here on the 45-minute is bearish on the 86,000. Obviously, it's getting back into the cone, so that's sort of where it wants to go back to. Same thing here, 79,000, and this will start to decrease. So anywhere from 79,000 to 79,300. If it remains above there, it's still technically bullish. So if it does retest that 80K range, anyway, there we go. So now we're going to get into the cones. We have the direction of volatility. I'll just do a quick rundown again. That's 50-50. That's down. That's 50-50. That's technically losing its dump, but I'd say more 50-50 now. That's down on the 5-day. That's 50-50 on the 3-day. That's sneaky pump on the 24-hour. All right, obviously it's sort of happened already. I suppose that signal's been held for a majority of the day when it kicked in. 12 hours, still looking for a pump, but I'm looking for contraction and volatility. So start slowing off, and we saw that on the 90-minute. Let's go back to those Laplace distribution cones. Okay, so now that's just doing the volatility workflow where these things. Now I sort of want to make, like if I'm on the 7-day, Bitcoin is only bullish if it's above, just call it $96,000 on that side. On the weekly time frame, if it's above $108,000, it's pretty much where the top is, I know. But if, as you can see, it could be bullish at 103, but it's not. Now the target keeps on moving away. So it gets harder and harder to be bullish because this can be a rejection zone. Okay. Anyway, so about 108,500, that's sort of where Bitcoin becomes bullish. Over here, we're sort of getting the same target, about $96,000. Okay. So that's the range on the 7-day in order for this to be bullish. Currently, if it's below $107,000, let's just say right now, it's bearish, but it is in a positive skew, which would mean look for, it doesn't really matter what I'd be looking for in price action all the way down. If it was to go down, is like hidden bull div plays until it hits one of these lines. If it was the 1 minute, more than likely down to 40K. This one's got 32K down here. This one's got 42 and 45K. So sort of in the book here. But yeah, that's if it's unfortunate that it's at the high. But if it does fail its high next time it comes there, you are starting to look for the 40K grand. And given that it hasn't given for a breakout, I do still keep an eye out on this 40K range over here. It's just a range. A lot of people get bearish, but on the 7 days, just a range. Like I treated on the 1 minute, it's just a range. Okay, that does look like it has very good buy support. If it does get into this 40K region, 32K region, obviously it would. Okay, here on the 5-day, it remains holding the range. So the range here is ironically matching up to 111, I think I stated earlier. So the range is from 80,200. If it holds above 80,200, then it's still bullish on that one. Over here, you start to see the 68K, which is fine because it actually smoked the 5-day coin perfectly. And ideally, it wants to go from that blue line, imagine, all the way down here to $25,000. Okay, but to be a little bit more realistic, even though it is stupid numbers to the downside, I would go with about $31,800. It's just the rules, don't worry. If the volatility flashes again, then that observation down there is out. But the general trading idea is from there to there, look for anything that's going to tell you otherwise. Okay, so the 5-day cone, we can sort of see where it's still technically bullish above 68K. As you can see here, this target's starting to now fill up in on the 3-day on the 68K region, starting to build in here. This one's a little lower in the 50Ks. 24-hour cone, this is quite a good one. So I know this is going to sound silly, but this is how I trade this cone. If it was the 1 minute, if we can hold inside this cone, as you can see, the returns are now, even the furthest away probabilities, returns are starting to go positive. The negative returns are starting to turn positive. All right, and it's the same effect, but like it went from those, if it goes from this blue line or this edge of the cone, where does it want to go? And realistically, that's if there's, obviously it's a daily, so there will be a lot more volatility, but it's trying to say that it's signaling for like $356,000 anyway. But yeah, your initial target you'd want to see is if it can hold this one here at $80,000, you want to see it back up into about $87,500. Ideally, if it's holding this range here on the outside of the cone, you do look for the higher probabilities at 93, and there you go, around about the same target as the 5-day, $113,000. The other one was $111,000. All right, so those are the kind of things you can look for there if it does hold above 80K. If it starts to fall below 80K on the daily, I'll just mark 80K out here. So I suppose it's this VRE just there. I would be looking for, again, there's your 68K. This one's a little higher. Give it 2 or 3 days to get there. 68,556, and where's the edge of the cone? Starting to match up with that other 49,000 target to the downside. But anyway, so there's a whole bunch of different cones, as you can see, that if you could picture it, that the different time frames are like, oh, they start to touch and they start to validate each other, even though the price action might not even be in the model currently. But as the probabilities start to creep out further and further on all your time frames, and you can see them overlapping, you'll be like, okay, maybe $68,000 or somewhere there is going to become a highly probabilistic level. I'm not saying it's going to go there, but I do have targets even lower, but it's in my head. It's on the edge of my cones. It's on the top of my cones. It's at the mean of some of the cones. So anyway, that target's popping up. And then obviously the 111,000 target is popping up. That's a very big range, man. That's nearly like 50% difference. 100% win rate or 100% gain in the account. If you take it from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom, it's like 50% loss. But anyway, so that's the range that I want to figure out in. And now I know what the general wider map is, and then I can just guide it through. So here on the 6 hour, so this is more than likely what I'm going to be looking at tomorrow. So by tomorrow, because I'm going to be doing a live stream trading, so by tomorrow I'm looking at 86,000, just call it $86,200 to $75,850 would be my initial expected range. Obviously, if it does kick out of it, I can go build another range that I'd look for. All right, let's go show some VRE targets. Okay, and then I'll do the 15-minute. Not that I'm gonna actually be trading this 15-minute. I don't want to switch it off, but it would be nice just to see, because if I switch the cone off, when I turn it back on, you won't see anything. Let's see. Anyway, so you can see the VREs there. This top one is a monthly, daily, monthly magnet. This is the weekly magnet that printed on Monday. You can see that it's there. It doesn't need Trump news. This was today's magnet. Anyway, so for tomorrow, I'd expect maybe a daily mean. If it doesn't push up any higher, yeah, it's in the right place. I would sort of expect a magnet to be put in somewhere down here at the $80,000 to $81,000 range. That's given if Bitcoin, let's just say, carries on closing below 83,000. Currently, you can see it didn't make it into the 15-minute cone range, even with this pump. So we just know anything below the pink is technically bearish. But if we can hold this blue here, put it in a hidden bull, never want to go chase the pink. All right. Any upside targets would be matching this pink on the 15-minute towards the upside here. This is the monthly mean at 84,750. So yeah, you just know at any given time in the month, the asset's more than likely going to touch the monthly. At any given time during the week, it's more than likely going to come pull back into the weekly levels. At any given time during the day, it's going to want to come pull back into wherever the new daily prints. So you can see it printed there. Bitcoin sort of put in the bottom and then just went back to retrace it. Here, it got printed, it did its thing, but it still wanted to touch the daily mean. Anyway, and you can see it started to fail off the 15-minute cone. So I'll also be executing off the 15-minute cone because ideally I'd like to try scalp because it's good. I'm trying to do 1% in a day. So these are like 2% moves. If this 15-minute cone holds from level to level to level. So if I can just try to deal with some of the noise going through or scalp in that direction I think it's going, it'll be pretty good. We'll have a good day. And then given people are looking maybe a bit bullish today, I would say the initial target, if Bitcoin can reclaim 83,000, just call it $500, which is now becoming a monthly level, -1 on the monthly. But if it can reclaim, just call that VRE here, 83,650. With the probabilities of the cone, and if the volatility doesn't go back to zero, you're looking from 83,000 on this cone on the 15-minute up to 93,000. On this cone here, I think it'll be a little bit lower because we've come into it already, and it's pretty much charging for $90,000. Currently $89,000. So if it can hold inside of, as you saw there, now the 15-minute cone is also saying that 79,200 to 79,400 region. If it can hold above there, Bitcoin up. If it starts to, here's your 80K region. If it starts to close below 80K, I think Bitcoin down. And I would say that for a majority of my time frames until maybe I do another Bitcoin analysis, which I'll more than likely be doing because I'll be doing some live streams and all of that and keep you guys updated. Anyway, if you guys did waffle and listen to all of this nonsense, thank you so much. I will be trying to grow the YouTube channel, and I know it might be boring to listen to this, but it's very hard to try and make this stuff entertaining, because I really have to concentrate on remembering numbers, and I might have a brain that can only remember a phone number. So just bear with me. I would like to make it funny, but I can't. It's a little bit serious as well, because it's money on the line, and I pride myself in displaying the information I do. So on exchanges that I trade on in optimal times, when the market is like, when I get a trade for free or whatever it is, or my long-term accounts, I have about a 90 to 95% hit rate. But if I'm scalping the 1 minute, I have a 95% hit rate. So I take the same respect from the 1 minute and apply it across all the charts, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. Just because the time frame changes doesn't mean jack shit. They still candlesticks. They're candlesticks. They're units. You're summarizing units. Anyway, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this challenge. I'm looking forward to growing this YouTube channel this year, to be brutally honest. I'm going to be putting in a lot of work. And yeah, it was more built to be a diary and to be like, screw all these other YouTubers. I used to listen to them when I was younger, and I was like, fuck these people. They don't know what they're talking about. And it sort of gave me the ambition to be like, wow, all those strategies don't work, hence why I'm using something crazy like this from Alpha Trading Tools. And I found my edge using that. So now I feel confident enough to go, you know what? Maybe if someone finds my page, they get like useful information. Because the guy's like, I only care about what happens in crypto in the next 3 months. Well, there's that perspective. I only care about what happens in crypto in the next 7 days. Well, there's that perspective. So hopefully there's a bunch of perspectives here, because it would be each perspective that I would trade. So if I was a younger investor or a newer trader and I didn't know what time frame to pick, or I'm working on a strategy, just look at the pink lines, the edge of the cones and stuff like that. And then I can get even more technical. You'll see that when I'm live streaming, there'll be a lot more stuff thrown onto these charts, because it's for scalping. All right, there'll be a lot more stuff thrown onto these charts, but it'll be for scalping. So it'll generally look like that, with noise in the cone. All right. And then I'd be wanting to look for the direction of volatility. So that's, it's only 15 minutes. It'd be nice if it was only 1 minute, but it doesn't really matter. It's saying in a pump, looking for a trend. All right. Carry on with the trend. If it carries on closing above 82,435, the trend should okay, it's not really carrying on with the trend, but I would say the trend would start if it holds above 435. Okay. Anyway, I hope you guys found this information helpful. Please do like and subscribe. And yeah, I'm not going to be arrogant, but I truly believe I can put a few analysis people in their place on crypto YouTube, and I think it's my time. I'm not saying I planned it for 8 years or 7 years, but it's always been something in the back of my head. So, all the best trading. Much love. African Crypto Warlord out. Pow pow. Stay Vago out. There'll be some other videos popping up soon. Then the like and subscribe button. Sorry, I know I have to take a little bit longer on the outros, because then the video sits there and all this stuff. Anyway, thank you for listening to my waffles. Hopefully you found it beneficial.